Okay, so today we're doing Surah Ash-Sharh, number 94, and we'll do verses 1 through 8. As usual, we will do the Arabic, the translation, and then some of the explanation. In the file I sent you guys, there's intro at the end as well, if you want to get a background of the surah. Please read the intro. Okay, so let's start with Sania.
Okay, sir. A'udhu billahi minash shaitanir rajim. Bismillahir rahmanir rahim. Alam nashrah laka sadrak. O Prophet, did we not lay open your breast? To begin the discourse with this question, and then the subsequent theme, shows that the messenger, peace be upon him, at that time was very disturbed and distressed at the great hardships that he was passing through in the initial stage of this mission of calling the people to Islam. Under those conditions, Allah addressed him and consoling him said, O Prophet, have we not blessed you with such and such favor? Then why do you feel so disturbed and distressed at these initial difficulties? A little consideration of the contexts wherever the word Sharah Sadr, opening up of the breast, has occurred in the Quran shows that it has two meanings. In Surah Al-An'am, ayat 125, it was said, so whomever Allah wills to guide aright, He makes his breast wide open to Islam. Yashrah sadrahu lil Islam. And in Surah Az-Zumar, ayat 22, can the person who breast Allah has opened for Islam, sharrahullahu sadrahu lil Islam, and he is walking in the light shown by his Lord. At both these places, Sharah Sadr implies to free oneself from every kind of distraction and vacillation, and to be satisfied with Islam as the only right way of life, and to regard the beliefs, principles of morality and civilization, religious instructions and injunctions which Islam has given to man as right and true.
Okay, thank you. Very good. Sania, do you know what does the word discourse mean?
So discussion.
Yeah, very good, very good. Yeah, close enough. Okay. Okay, so I underlined a few words. Jessica, is that sounds about right? Discussion for discourse?
Hold on, let's see. So discourse, yeah, discourse is right.
Yeah, so discussion. Because everybody's supposed to read this beforehand. Shazia, what do you think?
Communication.
Yeah. So I'm going to start questioning them a little bit on difficult words.
Sure.
All right, so let's do the words here, Jessica.
Okay. So yeah, there's discourse, as we said. I noticed, I think instead of saying his mission, I think she might have said this mission, but it's his mission. And then there's passing. So passing.
So passing or passing?
Passing.
Okay.
So I know it's a bad word, but if you know the word ass, it sounds like that. Passing.
Like, I think you will run into the same British versus American thing with the same word.
Oh, okay.
Or it's I think a similar would be like, how would you say this word?
Class. So it
Class,
sounds the
right?
same.
The British would say class.
Oh, okay. Yeah.
I think that's what they say. I don't know, I might be wrong. Okay.
You're right. Yeah.
But,
And then the next underlined word is difficulties. So these are things that are difficult, things that are hard. And then
hard or challenging.
Yeah, it's challenging.
Or challenges, I guess, here.
Then there was a question mark, I think, over a right.
Yes.
Yeah, that's, I guess people don't really use that much anymore, because I don't really hear people say that, but I guess it's to kind of guide you straight or to guide you upright. I think people today would more often just say upright.
Allah goes to guide you straight. Can we say that?
Yeah, I guess you could say
Or
that.
where we
Upright.
go? Upright. Yeah.
Then the next squiggle is whose. Can the person whose breast, so it belongs to them. Then the next word, vacillation. It's kind of to be indecisive, to go back and forth. You know, when you vacillate, you're being indecisive. You can't make a decision.
Zamal.
Sir, it means disturbance.
Distraction and disturbance. Yeah, like, movement away from the center is usually, I think, how I think about it. Shazib, go ahead. I put that arrow sign too.
In Surah Ash-Sharh, ayats 12 to 13, it has been mentioned that when Allah appointed the Prophet Moses, peace be upon him, to the great office of prophethood and commanded him to go and confront the Pharaoh and his mighty empire. He submitted, "My Lord, I fear that they will treat me as a liar, and my breast straightens." And in Surah Taha, ayats 25 to 26, it has been stated that on his very occasion, the Prophet Moses, peace be upon him, implored Allah, saying, "Lord, open up my breast from me, Rabbi shrah li sadri, and make my task easy for me." Here, straightening of the breast implies a person's finding it too hard for himself to shoulder the onerous responsibilities.
You missed the line. You missed the line.
Okay, sir. Responsibilities of prophethood and going out to clash with the mighty and tyrannical power of disbelief all by himself. And Shaza Sadr implies that his moral be boasted so that he is ready to undertake any campaign and any task, however difficult and hard, without any hesitation, and he develops the nerve and courage to shoulder the great responsibilities of prophethood. A little consideration will show that in this verse, opening up of the prophets is be upon him. Breast contains both these meanings, According to the first meaning, it implied that before the prophethood, the prophet, peace be upon him, looked upon the religion of the polytheistic Arabs, Christians, Jews, and fire worshippers as false and was not even satisfied with the Hanfiyat prevalent among some of the Arab monotheists, monotheists, for it was an ambiguous creed which contained no detail of the right way. This we have explained in E&S of Surah Ash-Sharh. But since he himself did not know what the right way was, he was mentally confused and distracted.
Okay, very good. Shazib, quick question. What does the word implore mean?
I don't know, sir.
Shazia.
Request, beg.
So begged. Okay. / requested. Let's see here. How about polytheistic?
Many gods.
Okay. And what does EN stand for, Shazia?
EN stand for end notes.
All right, very good. So, Jessica.
Okay.
Very quickly.
So the first line is Moses, the prophet Moses.
And what's the Arabic word for it?
Musa, right?
Yeah. Musa. So
Yeah.
I think Moses. I think that's why we got a little bit confused.
Oh,
Musa, like Moses. So Moses, and sometimes in America, I have heard people shorting Muhammad for Mo as well.
oh yes.
I don't know if it happens in your part of the country.
Yeah, sometimes when people have a friend named Muhammad, they just call him Mo for short because it's easier to say, I guess.
Yeah. So anyway, so prophet. So initially, when people say Mo, I was like, oh, is this just short for Moses? But I guess over time I learned that Mo is Muhammad, Moses is Moses. Okay, so next word.
Okay. Commanded. So he ordered him. He told him to do it. And then there's a question mark over implored. And as we mentioned, it's to beg, to request.
Yeah. And then there's I missed the word LIAR.
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 So it's someone who does not tell the truth. They're lying. They're fibbing.
And then how would you say the word that I also wrote on top?
Lawyer.
So you liar, LIAR, and LAW would be kind of. Okay, hold on a second. How would you say this word?
Lower.
Okay. So liar, lawyer, and lower.
Yeah, I guess that's tricky, huh?
Yeah. Well, it's so these words can be difficult to enunciate. So Shazia, write these 3 words in your register and practice.
Right, sir. Okay.
All right.
Okay.
So the next underline.
There's a check over tyrannical.
Oh yeah, because he did a good job reading it. So I just wanted to mention that.
Oh yeah.
Good job.
Yeah.
Good job. So I just wanted to recognize the fact that that's a long and difficult word, and tyrannical. Yeah. So I just wanted to compliment.
Yeah. And then the next one is morale. Morale. So it means kind of the emotional or mental condition of a people. You know, if people are all in a class and they have good morale, they're all happy, they're all feeling good, you know, or if they all have bad morale, they're all feeling bad about stuff.
So emotional, what it was meaning you said?
It's like your emotional or mental condition.
Okay. Sumer.
Sir, can we mean moral to courage?
Yeah, because courage is like an
Courage
emotion.
is-
Yeah.
Thank
Yeah. So you know, it's that I think that would be the positive undertone of morale. Okay, and then
Yeah.
this guy put an alternative here right below it. Well, can you read that for us too?
Moral.
Moral. So morale versus moral, and moral means less.
So moral means you are virtuous, you're righteous, you are upright, Hanifa.
Yeah.
Your morals are your values also. So I guess it can be an adjective and it can be a noun. The noun is it's a value, whereas the adjective is it's describing a person who's has values.
Yeah. Okay. So next word.
Okay. The next word is courage. Courage. So you're brave. It's brave.
Brave. Okay,
Yeah.
and then I put an alternative word with a slight change.
Coverage.
Yeah, I think that's what he said. I think he said coverage, rather courage.
Oh.
Okay. And then I got a couple question marks in next paragraph. Polytheistic versus monotheistic.
Yeah, so polytheistic, and we went over that just a few minutes ago of how it means multiple gods, many gods. As I mentioned in the past, the root word poly means many, and theist means God, or yeah, it basically means God or belief. Like if someone is polygamous, they have multiple marriage partners. So let's see. So then there's monotheist. So mono means one. So one God.
So okay, yeah, it was a good use. So I figured I'll just we'll bring a comparison, and then there was the word Hanafiyat, prevalent among them.
That's an Arabic word, but I think, does that mean the characteristic of being upright?
Yeah. So they were around the time of the Prophet. There was a group of people who were called Hanifs, and they were essentially adherents of all the Abrahamic tradition. So this is an Arab word, just Arabic word that is here. So it's not actually an English word. So okay. And Ian's was actually just a question that Shazia had asked me in a message. That what does this mean? So
I didn't know either, to be. So I learned something.
yeah, so there you go. All right. Next, Khadija.
Bismillah ar-Rahman ar-Rahim. With the blessing of prophethood, Allah removed his mental agitation and opened up before him the way of right guidance, which brought him full peace of mind. According to the second meaning, it implies that along with blessing of prophethood, Allah also blessed him with with the courage, spirit of resolution, and uh, broad-mindedness, which were needed for shouldering the onerous responsibilities of the great office. He became a bearer of the vast knowledge which no other human mind could encompass and contain. He was blessed with the wisdom which could rectify any evil, however grave and widespread. He developed the capability to stand up without any equipment and the apparent help and support of a worldly power as the standard bearer of Islam in a society sunk in ignorance and barbarism. To brave any to brave any storm of hostility without the least hesitation, to endure patiently all the difficulties and hardships of the way, so that no power might cause him to abandon his position and standpoint. Thus, the verse, uh, the verse meaning to impress the point when Allah has blessed you, O Prophet, with this invaluable wealth of Shara Sadr, why do you feel distressed and depressed at the hardship you are experiencing in the initial stage of your mission? Some commentators have taken Shara Sadr to mean Shak, Shak Sadr, splitting up of breast, and have declared this verse to be a proof of the miracle of Shara Sadr, as related in the traditions of the Hadith. But the fact is that the proof of that miracle is dependent only on the tradition of the Hadith. It is not correct to prove it from the Quran. According to the Arabic language, Shara Sadr can in no way be taken to mean Shak Shak Sadr. Allama Alusi in the Ruh al-Mani says in the sight of this research scholars, it is a weak thing to regard Shara Sadr as a Shak Sadr.
Okay, very good. So just a few words. So let's start with the first one, Jessica.
Sure. So I can understand how that one would be tricky, but that one is onerous. Onerous.
So you split O-N and not O-N-E?
Yeah, it's not onerous, it's onerous.
Okay.
And that means it's like heavy, it's difficult. Yeah.
Heavy. Okay.
It can mean heavy, but it can also mean something that's difficult or challenging. Then the next one is bearer. I guess, are you guys familiar with the animal, a bear? It sounds just like that, bearer.
Well, only problem is that this is bear, and what is this word then?
Bear.
Okay, so B-E-A-R. Now let me ask you this. What is this word?
Tear.
Tear. So you wouldn't say.
Oh, I'm sorry. Tear. Yeah, that's tear.
Okay. So T-E-A-R would be tear, and what B-E-A-R would be what?
The E-A-R would be bear.
So T-E-A-R, tear. B-E-A-R would be bear, right?
Yeah, this is one of those memorization things we were talking about.
Jessica.
No, don't blame me. I didn't invent English. I just speak it.
Yeah, as a learner, it's just like, we try to come up with like a few, I guess, routines, and then you run into these words.
Right. Now, if you want a word that sounds like tear, it would be the word beer, which is B-E-E-R, which is the drink of alcohol.
Which could be that. So it's a, because there's 0% beer as well, right? There's 0% beer as well.
Oh yeah, I mean there are beers that have no alcohol, but usually they have alcohol.
Yeah. So BEAR is bear.
Yeah.
TEAR is tear, and so this word here would be bearer.
Bearer. Yeah.
So in Urdu, there's a berry. It's called bear. So the word sounds more like the BEAR, bear or bearer. Okay. Oh, that's gonna be tough.
Sorry.
It's your fault.
Yeah, I invented it.
Yeah.
So I guess it's someone who's a bearer is a holder. They hold it. They
Okay. Holder.
Encompass is the next one. Encompass. So to encompass, it could be to contain. It can be to let's see, to encircle maybe. Let me see. I know it's like to contain. Yeah, to circle around, to include.
To include.
Yeah.
So yeah. And then the next one was
capability. So it's like ability.
So
Capability.
How would you say this word?
Cap.
Okay. So CAP is cap. CAPABILIT. That's not capability, is it?
No, it's capability.
So Shazia, write this down. Write these confusions down so you can practice. So because I remember I used to read this word as capability. So I would separate cap and ability. But then over time I realized it's capability, and then I was like, no, it's capability. So K is has a stress. Okay. Next.
Abandon. So abandon. So that's like to desert. To leave. Yeah, to leave.
Okay. And then I put a question mark next. I wasn't sure why Da had a capital T.
Yeah, that must be a mistake.
Okay. So that should be a lowercase t.
Yeah.
This reminds me of the thing that once you had posted on your Instagram. It was I think storm or something. You had a typo for a submission.
Oh yeah. I had a typo for something I submitted. So
yeah. So sometimes after you have read something so many times, you can make a very small mistake, right?
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah. So this is like the da is the word that's used so frequently. I'm like, why is this da capitalized? Has capitalized T. All right, and then the last one was just a mumble.
Hardships.
Okay, yeah. So she just missed the S. Okay. Okay, next, Musamma.
Bismillahirrahmanirrahim. وَوَضَعْنَا عَنْكَ وِزْرَكَ, and relieve you of the burden. الَّذِي أَنْقَضَ ظَهْرَكَ, that had well-nigh broken your back. Some of the commentators have interpreted this to mean that before prophethood, in the days of ignorance, the Prophet, peace be upon him, had happened happened to commit certain errors because of which he was feeling disturbed, and Allah, by sending down this verse, consoled and specified him, saying that he had forgiven him those errors. But in our opinion, it is a grave mistake to interpret this verse thus. In the first place, the word wizard does not necessarily mean a sin, but it is also used for a heavy burden. Therefore, there is no reason why it should, in every case, be taken in the bad sense. Secondly, the Prophet's peace be upon him, life before prophethood was also so clean and pure that it had been presented in the Quran as a challenge before the opponents, so much so that the Prophet, peace be upon him, was made to point out to the disbelievers, I have already lived a lifetime among you before the revelation of this Quran. Surah Yunus Ayat 16. And he was also not the type of a person who would commit a sin secretly. God forbid, had he been such a man, Allah would not have been unaware of it, and would not have made him proclaim the thing before the people openly, which he made him proclaim in the above mentioned verse of Surah Yunus. If this person carried the blot of a sin committed secretly, thus, in fact, in this verse, wizard means a heavy burden and it implies the burden of distress, anguish, and anxiety that was difficult on his sensitive nature when he saw his nation deeply sunk in ignorance and barbarism. Idols were being worshipped, the community was engrossed in idolatry, idolatry and polytheistic customs and practices, filth of immorality and indecency prevailed all around. Wickedness and corrupt practices were rampant in society. The powerful were suppressing the powerless. Girls were being buried alive. Tribes were subjecting one another to surprise attacks, and sometimes the wars of vengeance continued for 100 years at a stretch.
Okay, very good. Mm, Actually, Muzammal, just continue. Why don't you just finish the passage?
Okay. No one's life, property, and honor was safe unless he had a strong band at his back. This grieved the Prophet, peace be upon him, but he could find no way to cure the malady. This same anxiety was weighing down his back. Allah, by showing him the way to guidance, removed its burden from him. Then, as soon as he was appointed to the office of prophethood, he came to know that belief in the doc- doctrine of Tawhid, 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 the hereafter and prophethood was the master key by which each corruption in human life
could be eradicated and the way to reform opened in every aspect of life. This guidance from Allah relieved him of his burden, and he felt reassured that by means of it he would not only be able to cure the maladies of Arabia but also of all mankind outside Arabia as well.
Yeah, very good. Okay. So a few new words and a few older mistakes. So Jessica, let's start from the beginning.
Sure. So the first one, relieve, relieve you of the burden. So that's to take it away, take away, release.
So I think Muzammil said relive. So
Yeah.
so this is relieve. I think another word that I was thinking about was actually I'll just do leave.
Yeah, it sounds like that. Leave.
Okay. So even it's like Lieve versus Leave, the sound is the same. Relieve. Okay.
Yeah.
Next
The next one is interpreted. Interpreted. So to interpret is to, I guess it's to understand, to comprehend.
To explain something.
Yeah, could be to explain.
To have explained.
Yeah.
Okay.
The next one is satisfied. Satisfied, so that can be like to appease.
Yeah. To appease.
To make happy.
Okay.
Then necessarily. So how do I describe necessarily?
Something that's necessary.
Yeah, something that's necessary. Something that's needed, but this is not
Important.
Yeah, it could be
Importantly.
a requirement. Yeah. So when it
So
says this
compulsory.
does not.
Yeah. Okay. Close. You know, I think a lot of times these simpler words are also kind of contextual. That there's a little variation in meaning. So that's good. Next one.
So lived. I guess it's confusing because it's similar to. It looks similar to live or alive, but I guess it's just one of those things that you memorize it and it's lived.
Another one of those things that you did, Jessica.
Yeah, I invented that too.
Yeah. No, well, it's so. What I was trying to say is that there's a certain benefit when you grow with these words that you pick up these nuances. That when you are a new speaker, you're like, well, IVE. Now I got so this live or lie, but then you're like, oh, sometimes it's short, sometimes it's long. So it's perfectly fine to be confused with these words. It's just gonna take some time.
Yeah. So so someone who has been alive, they lived. The next one is revelation.
So the reason I brought up that word was LIVED is lived, ALIVE is alive. Okay, so it's very similar spelling but different pronunciation.
Yep. Okay. So the next one is revelation. So revelation, this prophecy, I guess, this recitation. Let's see. The next one, there's an arrow near secretly.
Yeah, he just Didn't stop at period.
Oh, okay.
And
So
these are just my own inventions as I.
I'm learning.
Yeah, so squiggly or arrow, just or a question mark. So I just didn't want to forget the stuff.
Your own hieroglyphics. Yeah. Okay. The next one is anxiety. Anxiety. So it's like stress. Let's see. Idols. Idols. So they're like statues of, false gods, or they're just false gods. Engrossed. So to be engrossed, I guess that could be obsessed, occupied.
Could be busy, to be occupied. Yeah.
Yeah, to be
To
occupied.
be involved.
What did you say, Suman?
Said to be involved
Involved.
in idolatry.
Yeah. Involved, busy, occupied.
Yeah.
Okay. So
Yes, sir.
next one is.
So I guess the next word is idolatry. Idolatry, which is similar to idol. It's, the practice of worshiping idols, of worshiping little statues and things, or worshiping false gods.
So IDOL would be idol. So this is not idolatry. So was what I wanted to emphasize. This is idol. It sounds like idolatry.
Well, I think this
So-
word it's actually idolatry.
Okay. So how? Say that again.
Idolatry.
Yeah. Well, so I agree. I'm just trying to pick up what's the best way to explain that.
Oh,
So I would not say idolatry, would I? So I would say
yes.
idol. So I was just trying to figure out how I can break it down. So can you say it again, please?
Idolatry.
Okay. Idolatry. Okay.
Yeah.
Next one.
Indecency. Indecency. So that's also kind of it's immoral. It's wicked. It's not decent.
Okay.
It's the opposite of decent. Then there's prevailed. Prevailed. So it's prevalent. It's widespread. It's ubiquitous.
Present.
Then, yeah, it's present. The next one is suppressing. Suppressing. So that's a similar meaning to oppress. To suppress is to also kind of take people's power away.
Okay.
Then there's buried. Buried. So
Yeah. Put somebody in the grave.
yeah, to put someone in the ground, or a grave, just to put something in the ground or put something, to cover something up. Okay. There's wars, so conflicts or battles.
This was more of like the V versus W issue.
Oh yeah, that whole thing. War.
We'll struggle with that for a while. Okay. The next one.
That I can see how the next one would be a little difficult. It's vengeance, revenge.
Okay. And then there was a little squiggly that was just because I think that got jumbled.
Yeah, at A. And then the next one is band. Band, so that can be like a group of people. When you listen to a rock band or a musical band you like, it's a musical group of people.
So I think band is a collective noun for musicians, right?
Band, yeah, it can be for musicians, but I guess it can also be like a band of thieves. It's a group of thieves. They're all together, or
class of students.
Yeah.
Okay.
So let's see. This one is it's malady. See, so a disease. Yeah, malady. It's a disease, disorder.
Okay. Shazia, did you want to say something?
I want to say that malady mean disease, but Jessica ma'am already said.
Oh, yes, you are right.
Very good.
Very good. So the next one is weighing down. Weighing down. So when something is weighing on you, it's heavy. So it's pressing down.
Pressing down. Very good.
Yeah. The next one is doctrine. Doctrine. So a doctrine is like a belief, like a principle.
Yeah, I like the belief word because it's easier. Okay.
Yeah.
On a side note, Jessica, do you know what's a collective noun for doctors?
Wait, what's a collective noun for doctors?
There you go.
Oh, doctrine. I did not know that. See, I didn't invent English.
So it's because there are a few doctors in my family. So you're a class of students. So when you have a few students, it's called a class. When you have a few doctors, it's called a doctrine. Okay.
Oh, interesting. Yeah. The next one is eradicated. Eradicated. So that means to remove or to completely remove a group or just something to completely remove.
So let's reread this passage. I'm going to step out for just a minute. I'll be right back.
Okay, so I'll just read it. Let's see. And relieve you of the burden that had well nigh broken your back. Some of the commentators have interpreted this to mean that before prophethood, in the days of ignorance, the prophet, peace be upon him, had happened to commit certain errors because of which he was feeling disturbed. And Allah, by sending down this verse, consoled and satisfied him, saying that he had forgiven him those errors. But in our opinion, it is a grave mistake to interpret this verse thus. In the first place, the word visr does not necessarily mean sin. Does not necessarily mean a sin, but it is also used for a heavy burden. Therefore, there is no reason why it should, in every case, be taken in the bad sense. Secondly, the prophet's, peace be upon him, life before prophethood was also so clean and pure that it had been presented in the Quran as a challenge before the opponents. So much so that the prophet, peace be upon him, was made to point out to the disbelievers, I have already lived a lifetime among you before the revelation of this Quran. Surah Yunus, ayat 16. And he was also not the type of a person who would commit a sin secretly. God forbid, had he been such a man, Allah would not have been unaware of it and would not have made him proclaim the thing before the people openly, which he made him proclaim in the above-mentioned verse of Surah Yunus, if his person carried the blot of a sin committed secretly. Thus, in fact, in this verse, vizr means a heavy burden, and it implies the burden of distress, anguish, and anxiety that was difficult on his sensitive nature when he saw his nation deeply sunk in ignorance and barbarism. Idols were being worshipped, the community was engrossed in idolatry and polytheistic customs and practices. Filth of immorality and indecency prevailed all around. Wickedness and corrupt practices were rampant in society. The powerful were suppressing the powerless. Girls were being buried alive. Tribes were subjecting one another to surprise attacks. And sometimes the wars of vengeance continued for 100 years at a stretch. No one's life, property, and honor was safe unless he had a strong band at his back. This grieved the Prophet, peace be upon him, but he could find no way to cure the malady. This same anxiety was weighing down his back. Allah, by showing him the way to guidance, removed its burden from him. Then, as soon as he was appointed to the office of prophethood, he came to know that belief in the doctrine of Tawhid, the hereafter, and prophethood was the master key by which each corruption in human life could be eradicated and the way to reform opened in every aspect of life. This guidance from Allah relieved him of his burden, and he felt reassured that by means of it he would not only be able to cure the maladies of Arabia, but also of all mankind outside Arabia as well.
Thank you. Sorry, that was an inordinately long passage. So,
That's all right.
Shazia, go ahead.
Bismillahirrahmanirrahim. Warafana laka zikrak. And did we not exalt your fame? This was said at a time when no one could even conceive how the renown of the one unique individual who had only a few followers confined only to the city of Mecca would be exalted throughout the world and what high fame he would achieve. But Allah Almighty gave His Messenger, peace be upon him, this good news under those very conditions and then fulfilled it in a strange way. In the first place, he took from his enemies themselves the task of exalting his renown. One of the methods that the disbelievers of Makkah adopted to defeat his mission was that in the Hajj season, when the pilgrims from every corner of Arabia were attracted to their city, they would visit them at their halting places and would warn to beware of a dangerous man called Muhammad, peace be upon him, who they alleged worked such magic on the people that father was separated from son, brother from brother, and husband from wife. Therefore, they should keep away from him. The same thing they said to all other people who visited Mecca on other than Hajj days in connection with pilgrimage or on other business. In this way, although they were trying to defame the Prophet, peace be upon him, yet the result was that his name reached every nook and corner of Arabia, and the enemies themselves took him out of his seclusion in Mecca and introduced him among all the tribes of the country. After this,
Let's stop here. So,
okay,
just a couple words. The first, Jessica, the first quickly is.
It's what?
Okay. And then we have another.
And then there's nook, which is basically just very similar to corner. It's just, you know, a recess. Yeah.
It's a word very similar to corner. And is this a phrase, nook and corner?
Well, actually, the phrase is nook and cranny.
Okay. Oh, yes. Nook and cranny.
Yeah.
Okay.
So to say to search every nook and cranny is to say to search every little space. Because a nook is like a space and a cranny is like a space.
All these things you're inventing, Jessica.
Yeah, that's right.
All right, Sumer.
Bismillah ar-Rahman ar-Rahim. فَإِنَّ مَعَ الْأُسْرِ يُسْرًا. Indeed, there is ease with hardship. Inna ma'al usri yusra. Most certainly, there is ease with hardship. This has been repeated twice as to reassure the Prophet, peace be upon him, that the bad times he was passing through at that time would not last forever, but were going to be replaced by good times in the near future. On the surface, this appears to be contradiction that hardship should be accompanied by ease. For these two things do not coexist, but the word hardship with ease instead of ease after hardship have been used in the sense that the period of ease is so close to it as if it were a concomitant of it. Faiza frakta fansab. So whenever you are free, strive in devotion. Waila rabbika fargab, and turn to your Lord with longing. So when you have finished your duties, when you are free from other occupations, whether occupations in connection with the preaching of divine message or teaching and training of the new converts or domestic occupations of a mundane nature. This commandment means when you are no more occupied, you should spend your time in the labor and toil of Allah's worship and turn all your attentions exclusively to your Lord.
Okay. Thank you. So just a few words for you, Jessica.
Sure. So the first squiggly is contradiction. To be a contradiction. So when something contradicts, it's two things that I guess they don't make sense together. They oppose each other.
Okay.
Opposition. Accompanied. So to go with.
To go together.
Go together. Concomitant is a word that I don't really see a lot. It's not used very much, so I had to look it up just to be sure what it was. But it's something that occurs with something else.
So something that occurs together.
Yeah. So existing or occurring with something else, occurring at the same time, like concurrent.
Concurrent, concomitant. If you study logic, I think this word pops up.
Oh, okay.
But I studied logic a long time, so I might have confused it with another word. So, anyways, so the last word is
mundane. It's mundane, which means ordinary, normal.
Yep. And then you missed the big arrow here.
Oh, yeah. Okay, let's say huge arrow. Coexist.
Yeah, no. The arrow is just to stop. It's not.
Oh.
So I put the arrows on, like just to point attention that hey, there was a period here.
Right.
You did not stop, because some of us have bad habits of not stopping there. Okay, yeah, that's it for today. So we're at the end of the hour. Thank you very much for your time, Jessica.